whenever there is a war anywhere at all, the two sides would actually be feeding their own narratives to the media.
Guns and aircraft and bombs are one side of warfare, but this is also a critical and crucial side of war, where information warfare is as important as I said, tanks and guns and aircraft.
I think the war that we're fighting on the ground is very similar to the war that we're fighting online.
It also feeds on your hatred. It also feeds on the observations that you already have. So it turns the table.
False claims, conspiracy theories, hateful content. These are some of the challenges that are being faced currently right now during the ongoing Israel-Hamas war. So misinformation, disinformation, fake news, all these things create and generate a sort of public opinion, and it's enough to tilt a war, because war is just not being fought on the ground level or in the skies. It's being fought on the cyberspace also.
Misinformation has always been there, but today the misinformation, the way it is actually fed, the narratives, the way they are spread, it has become practically, and the way it is designed, people are unable to make a distinction between what is real and what is not real.
I think the war that we're fighting on the ground is very similar to the war that we're fighting online. There are a lot of bad actors out there, whether we're talking about individuals who are manipulating information or images, or who are using bots, to kind of troll and shadow ban accounts and tweets. What I would say is verify your sources, verify your information.
If you look at it, cyber domain, it is least regularized domain right now, and especially like you said that anybody can pay certain amount and they can get the blue tick, which means that you are verified, and which means you can, whatever you want to say, you can say, and it will be circulated in the cyber domain.
The problem is that we have become more aware of it now, because social media has become so hyperactive that even before something has happened, there is news to the people that so-and-so has happened, and we continue to look what actually has happened. So because of this very, very fast spreading media, where the time gap between the event and the news is literally nil, it's simultaneous, which is creating the problem, because there is no time to really even react to anything at all.
The hospital that was bombed, that's a classic case of, how theories, conspiracies can just not set the right narrative, which is required at this point of time. Because understand this, bombing in hospital in itself, everyone then loses the point as to why this conflict is happening. The humanitarian crisis that emanates from there, and how it's twisted and turned to set up a fresh narrative, and this sets the agenda for whatever is going to happen next.
Okay, people have already started picking up the thing, it's Israel's fault. Now, whatever it was, we don't, sitting here in Delhi, in India, we don't know what happened actually. Okay, one side says something, one side says something, it either could be wrong, either could be right. But there is a scope of an independent investigation, neutral let that happen. Then we'll see what happens, what comes out of it. But the narratives are already running away with it. Once the polarization is complete, one side will say, no, we know that the Israelis did it.
When we saw what happened last week in the hospital in Gaza, people were so quickly to jump down Israel's throat without any proof, when we had the images to suggest otherwise.
The other side is also very clear, no, but we know who does it, who does these kind of things. It is the Hamas who wants more casualties and more deaths from the Arab side, so they can use them as a proxy, as a number for propaganda purposes. So where does the truth eventually come out?
The entire story has now changed. There's a diametrical shift from Hamas's offensive to now everybody talking about how IDF has attacked the hospital, even though IDF has claimed that it is not their attack, but it is a misfire from the Gazan side. So, but what is the world consuming on? The world is consuming on the information that, okay, this was Israel's doing, because already there is a hate against Israel, against the Israel's offensive or counter-offensive in Palestine. So all these things, so it also feeds on your hatred. It also feeds on the observations that you already have. So it turns the table.
So whether tech companies have also got this, sometimes their own agendas of how they want to run their own, what the truth, so to say.
If you look at in the Indian context, again, there is, we are facing the two fronts also, right? From the Chinese side, Galwan happened, Arunachal Pradesh happened. So what did happen? There was a perception warfare that was fought by China. Similarly, on our northern front as well, from Pakistan. So every country, for instance, is exposed to these kinds of threats, the cyber threats, if you want to say, the misinformation or the disinformation that is being spread. And there are companies and there are, there are bodies, there are institutional bodies which are responsible for these.
And therefore now the arguments, the differences, the war, everything takes place not on the real issues but actually on the misinformation.
Information warfare is as important as I said, tanks and guns and aircraft.
So I think there is a regulation that is required and it is not there. So regulatory orders should be maintained, and I think countries should collectively call for it.
Unless there is an active campaign to educate people, not to simply go by what the social media is saying, but check and recheck with other sources, check on the credibility of the news. Unless people check, there is no way you can deal with it.
So I would tell each and every one of you to really review the sources that you're looking at, the information that you're looking at, and to make sure that they're reliable sources, because people don't realize that news in this conflict also has collateral damages, which includes innocent Jews, Israelis, civilians around the world being hurt or targeted because of misinformation that is spread online.
There is this phrase in English which is very good actually, is I have made up my mind, don't confuse my mind with facts.